Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Pacific 414 episode reviews. I am your host, Mike, and today, what a difference a day makes. Really, what a difference a day makes. Because last night, as you saw, even though the stream sucked, I'm just going to come out and say it sucked. Last night, I gave you my review of People of Earth for Star Trek Discovery, and you know by those three reviews that I don't care for the series. I don't feel that that series is Star Trek. But what a difference a day makes. The season 2 premiere of The Mandalorian, The Marshal. What a great episode. I'm probably not going to go into too much detail about this episode because I want to keep it as spoiler free as possible. But this episode was good. I know some people are going to have a different opinion, but this episode was good. This was a Western in its truest sense. You know, had the stranger going into the strange town and meeting up with the lawmen of that town, and basically he comes to find out that this town's in trouble. But I'm getting ahead of myself too, because this episode starts off with a recap of pretty much everything that went on in season 1. So we got a recap, and of course Moff Gideon is the last thing we see in this recap with the dark saber, and it picks up with the Mandalorian and the child walking into this town in the dark of night, and the only thing that's illuminating them are these street lights. And he's walking into this shady looking town, and as he's walking, there are these red eyes, these creatures growling, and you see graffiti on the wall. This town is run down, and he walks into one building, and there's a fight going on between these two Gamorreans. And they're going at it, and Mando and the child go into the front row, and they start speaking to this promoter who's watching his Gamorrean get his ass whooped. And this promoter says to Mando, "This isn't a place for a kid." And Mando says, and this was seen in the trailer, "Where I go, he goes." So, long story short, you know, Mando inquires if this particular promoter knows where any Mandalorians are. And the promoter says, "If you want that information, you're going to have to give me your armor, because the armor fetches a high price, especially for that information." And of course, Mando's not willing to give up his armor. And cutting to the chase here, the promoter, along with a few other shady characters, pull out their blaster. It clears out the crowd that's in this building watching this fight. And the promoter asks Mando, "Are you a betting man?" And Mando pretty much replies, "No." And of course, what we see next are the whistling birds come out. And you know what happens when those come out? Well, they take out everybody except the promoter, the one Gamorrean that was still in the ring, because what I didn't get to. And this is going to happen during my review sometimes. I'm going to be jumping all over the place, especially for an episode like this. An episode I really enjoyed. And what the promoter did before this next part happens is he shot his own Gamorrean because he was losing the fight, and he was none too pleased about that. So, anyways, the Gamorrean that's left after Mando fires off the whistling birds, taking out other people with their blasters that are with this promoter, part of this shady promotion. Well, he leaps over the top rope. There's a fight ensued. By God! By God! All hell's broken loose! There's a fight going everywhere! Mando, he kicks little baby Yoda's carriage, moves it out of the way, and there's a fight ensuing. It's a wrestling, folks! By God! Alright, I had to get that out of my system. But there's a fight ensues. The Gamorrean leaps over the top rope. You know, Mando takes the Gamorrean out, and he takes the other fighters out, and the promoter starts running away, and Mando uses his grappling hook, fires it at the promoter, gets it wrapped around his legs, and starts dragging him, and then he hangs him upside down at a light post, and he says to the promoter, okay, tell me where you know there are other Mandalorians. And the promoter says, I've seen one. I've seen one on Tatooine. And Mando says, I've been to Tatooine. There aren't any other Mandalorians there. And then the promoter says, trust me, they're there. They're there. And long story short, Mando gets his information. The promoter's still hanging upside down. And the promoter wants to be cut from, being tied upside down on the lamppost. And, the promoter does say to Mando, don't kill me, spare my life, you know. And Mando says, you won't die by my hands. You have my word. And he doesn't. Because what Mando does is he shoots the light post, knocking out the light, and then the beast with the red eyes come growling, and we see Mando and Baby Yoda walking away, and all we hear are the screams of this promoter. So the next scene we see is Mando on the Razor Crest, flying to Tatooine at Mos Eisley's, and I forget her name, but she was there in episode 5, the gunslinger, and she helped repair the ship with the droids, and she's there, and she's happy to see Mando, and of course she's happy to see the child, and Mando starts inquiring. So I hear that there are other Mandalorians here, and he's heard of this other Mos area. I've already forgotten the name. I know that's pretty bad. But she summons a droid. It brings up a map of Tatooine with the othermost colonies, othermost towns, and the one that Mando's seeking isn't showing up on the map, but she being the woman who runs a repair facility swears that is there on Tatooine. So, long story short, Mando gets on a speeder loaned by the the woman of the repair shop. Like I said, I forgot her name. I'm sorry, but he gets on the speeder bike. He does roll into town, and it's just like an old west, a western. He rolls into town. The townsfolk are looking at him. Here he is, a stranger riding into town. You know, it's kind of fitting, Underneath that costume of Mando is the grandson of the Duke, John Wayne. So he comes riding into town, Pilgrim, and all the town folk are looking at him, going, who in Sam Hell is this stranger? Yeah, Mando and Baby Yoda get off the speeder bike. They walk into this bar. The barkeep looks at him because he's a stranger. And Mando walks up to the bar and says, I'm looking for a Mandalorian. And the barkeep, tells him there is a Mandalorian here. And in walks a Mandalorian. Or is he? We see someone walk in wearing Boba Fett's armor. And of course, last time we saw Boba Fett, he, well, he met his fate in a Sarlacc pit. Or did he? Mm. So, we meet this gentleman wearing Boba Fett's armor. His name is, I'm just going to call him Cobb for short, Cobb Red. But I'm going to call him Cobb from now on. You know, he starts giving his backstory, how he was in town, and he was in town the night that second F Star was destroyed. Okay, I know I've just gotten ahead of myself, but you know, Mando does say to him before this story is even told that he wants that armor. That armor belongs to the Mandalorians, and we find out that these miners came into town. They took over the town, and our friend Cobb was basically a hero to this town once he was able to acquire Boba Fett's armor after wandering for days. Once these miners came in and took over the town, and he's rescued by Javazan, a sandcrawler. What he didn't know about one of these items that he took from the miners from their speeder was that it had these valuable crystals. And these valuable crystals were used to negotiate his freedom. And the Jawas, offer him their finest goods. And what Cobb wants is Boba Fett's armor. And the reason why he wants Boba Fett's armor is to protect him from raiders. But what he can't protect them against is the sandworm. I thought I was watching Tremors once the ground started shaking. As you know, Mando gets introduced to Cobb and the ground's shaking. But no, it's this dragon creature. It's probably from the expanded universe. I haven't read very many, if any. I'll admit, if any, expanded universe stories, except for maybe a couple. But there's this sand dragon coming through town, and it feeds on people, it feeds on banthas. So Cobb and Mando agree to hunt it down, but they're going to need some help. And they get that help from Tusken Raiders. Now, our Mando friend can speak Tusken, the Tusken's language. Sorry, I know this is rough, but he can speak their language, and he helps negotiate, an agreement where the Tuskens and the town folk come together and rid themselves of the dragon, because the dragon sleeps in an old Sarlacc pit, and the only way a Sarlacc can be taken care of is if this Sarlacc is eaten, which this dragon has done, and made the Sarlacc pit his den. So they have one attempt where they try to lure out the dragon, and it's the Tuskens, it's Cobb, it's Mando, and they go, and then a Tusken has a bantha, and they try to lure it out. So the banthas do their call, and then out comes the creature, completely bypasses the bantha that's there as bait, and goes right for the Tusken, who trips and eats him. So they have to come up with a strategy to get rid of the dragon because their first attempt didn't work. So they get back to the Tusken Raider camp and they start negotiating. Of course, things get heated, and Mando is able to cool things down by using his blowtorch, of course, to kind of put some heat in between the situation. And, you know, he tells Cobb and he tells Tuskens they got to work together. And Mando pretty much negotiates the fact that the townsfolk are going to help. So it's going to be the Tuskens and the town folk, along with Mando and Cobb, trying to get rid of the dragon. So, of course, the townsfolk aren't too pleased about it when they're told this proposition, this plan, because they don't trust the Tusken Raiders. The Tusken Raiders don't trust them because, they've lost people, they've had supplies taken. But Mando pretty much tells them, and also Cobb pretty much tells them, this is the deal, we're going with it. And next we see our Tusken warriors riding in on Banthas with their supplies and gear. And of course, there's tension. Nobody trusts anybody. But they end up going. And what I forgot to mention was Cobb's speeder bike, because they take some pretty good shots of it. The speeder bike's basically a pod racer engine with a speeder bike attached to it, and I thought it looked pretty cool. But anyways, they go off back to the den of this sand dragon, and they have their charges as far as their way of luring it out, because they've come up with a plan to lure it out. So they start burying the charges, and they say that in order for this to work, they got to lure it back out. Well, they managed to lure it back out, and they managed to fire the first set of explosives that are buried in the sand. But then, you know, the dragon starts going back toward his den, starts going back in, and they say, "No, we got to keep drawing it out." So they end up doing it. Long story short, they end up doing it, but on the way, this dragon starts spitting acid, which disintegrates living tissue, and Tuskens are lost. People from this small town are lost, and Mando and Cobb use their jetpacks and get to the higher ground because they have to draw it back. They have to make sure it doesn't go back into its den. So they're there. They're firing their blasters, and they finally get its attention. It leans toward him, tries to eat him. Of course, all it gets is rocks and sand as they fly away, they being Cobb and Mando. And they're looking for it once they get back to the ground. Well, they're expecting it to come out from the mountain ahead of them. No, it comes out from the sand behind them. It takes care of a few more people. And, you know, everybody's panicking because they're thinking that this whole thing's starting to fall apart. But Mando comes up with a plan of using the chargers on this one bantha and luring the dragon to the bantha and detonating the explosives, because Cobb still has the detonator that he had previously used to detonate charges underneath this sand dragon. So Mando has an idea. He has the detonator. He has the bantha with the charges attached to it. And it's up to Mando to lure the sand dragon toward him. Well, what Cobb does is he uses one of the rockets on the jetpack that used to belong to Boba Fett, and this is the second time we see him use it. The first time was when he was getting rid of the miners that had taken over the town, and he destroyed their speeder. Well, the second time, he uses it to lure the dragon toward Mando. The dragon comes to Mando, This is Mando. This is Dragon. It consumes Mando along with the bantha, and everybody's thinking, "Oh no, Mando's gone." Not so. All of a sudden, the creature, the dragon, opens its mouth. We see that Mando had fired his rifle from within, and as Mando comes out, there's a shot of the detonator. Mando hits the button, and there's an explosion. The dragon falls down. We see an aerial shot, and we see the guts and the bones of the dragon, and it's defeated. Next thing we see, Tuscans and the town folk are picking off the meat because they're gonna have a good old town cooking. Okay, maybe not. But they do use it as nourishment and food. Obviously, even Mando takes some of the meat, and at the end, we see a Tuscan pull out what conceivably could be an egg. Don't know. Not really sure what it was, but I'm assuming it was an egg. And Mando talks to Cobb, and they say thank you. Mando gets Boba Fett's armor. Oops, sorry about that. Sorry if I bang into the mic and it's creating vibrations. Sorry. But, they say, job well done, a deal's a deal, and thank you, and don't be a stranger. Mando gets back on the speeder bike with Baby Yoda and speeds away. And then there's a wide shot of Tatooine's two sons, and then the end. I'm not going to say who, but the end. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun. This is going to be a fun season. That's all I'm gonna say. Is this is gonna be a fun season of The Mandalorian. I can tell you that right now. I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a great episode. I know I was all over the place with this review. I even skipped parts, but that was intentional. I don't want to give up too much and have people go, "Oh my God, you spoiled everything." But the end, you've gotta watch the end because we see a certain somebody. I'm not giving away the name, but if you already seen the episode, you know. And wow, I'm gonna look forward to watching more episodes of the Mandalorian after a day of watching Star Trek Discovery. Light and day, that's for sure. And wow, if this is the start of things to come, of 8 episodes of season 2, and oh man, oh man, oh man, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. Definitely, definitely gonna be good. Yeah, I, I, I'm at a loss for words because this was great. After that shithole of an episode, that was episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery. Heck, that whole show's a shithole. And to get to Mandalorian, just light and day. The light side and the dark side. Dark side being what's Kurtzman's Trek, light side, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni. What a breath of fresh air. I know it may not be perfect in some people's eyes, but it's a fresh breath of air. Oh man. Love it. I love it. I tell you that. I really do. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I do. I do. I do. I mean, just think. Just think. When you finally get to see this episode, you know, just think about what's going to happen. What's going to happen, and you know, it's just going to get better. It's just going to get better. I mean, especially if they could continue with what they built in season 1, it's just going to get so much better. I mean, Disney doesn't have a lot going for them right now. But the one thing they do have going for them as far as Star Wars is concerned is The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian's their one bright spot right now. And that's no lie. So, if I'm going to do something for this episode, I am going to give it a round of applause. Because this was a great episode. So much better than Star Trek Discovery. So much better than Picard. So much better than Lower Decks. So much better than a lot of crap that's out there right now. Oh, yes. And yes, it is better than the sequel trilogy. The Mandalorian by itself is better than the sequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy was a hot mess. Characters who you thought would get some decent build up, a decent story arc. No, nope, we got nothing. Nope. Characters that are just thrown in for the sake of throwing them in. Come on. Build up characters. Give them backstory. Give us a reason to say, all right, I like this person. But no. But on The Mandalorian, hell yeah. Hell yeah, that's what you get. I can't wait till next Friday or whenever I'm able to do the episode review because it's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for The Mandalorian. If there's one thing good in Star Wars right now, it's The Mandalorian. Say what you want about the prequels. I can watch the prequels and enjoy it. I can watch the original trilogy and enjoy it. And then I look at the sequel trilogy, and yeah, there are parts I do enjoy, but it it just doesn't have the same feel. It doesn't. It really doesn't. But The Mandalorian has that feel. It has the feel of Star Wars. Yeah, we haven't seen any lightsaber battles yet, but I bet they're coming. I bet they're coming. I mean, you have Moff Gideon who has the dark saber. They've got to be coming. They've got to be coming at some point. And rumors have it that in this season we're going to be seeing Sabine from Star Wars Rebels and Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars. Maybe, maybe. I mean, yeah. The rumors for this episode that it was Boba Fett. No, it was somebody donning Boba Fett's armor, but it wasn't Boba Fett. But there's something coming. Now, is this person, this particular individual that I think it is? Maybe. Or is he a clone? We'll find out, won't we? We will find out, and I can't wait. I really can't wait till next Friday. And I'm not going to take up much more of your time. Hope you all enjoyed this video. And if you'd like, you don't have to. I always tell you, you don't have to do this. But if you'd like to do it, it would be doing me a favor. You can like this video, subscribe, and give it a Put in a comment. Come on. Put in a comment. I will read it. I will respond. I'd love to have a dialogue. We can agree, we can disagree, but let's create a dialogue. Let's create a back and forth. And, you know, create a community here on the Pacific 4 and 4 YouTube channel. Pacific 4 and 4 YouTube channel. Gosh, how many times I've been saying that, even practicing it, and I still flub it. And I don't even rehearse. None of these are rehearsed. If you watch the box score, you know I don't rehearse anything. It's just what comes out of the mouth. Yeah, some people might like it if it was scripted better, but some of the feedback I have gotten, especially some of it from this year, some from last year, was they liked that I just gave my honest opinion. I didn't phone it in. I didn't read it off a script. Was the fact that I just do it, you know, as it comes out, you know, off the top of my head. It is what it is. And I hope for those of you that have watched, I hope you like what you see. Even when I post up gameplay videos or episodes of Friday Night Frontiers, which if again, you don't have to, but I would appreciate it if you did. If you come over to the Twitch channel tonight, the Pacific 4 and 4 Twitch channel, for Friday Night Frontiers with myself and my co-host TKO, and join us for Friday Night Frontiers, because as you can see, I'm in a good mood. I might be in a bad mood when I start talking about Discovery, but trust me, I'm in a good mood. I'll be in a good mood tonight. That's for damn sure. But yeah, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Please. I know I'm begging, but please do me a favor. An honest one. Oh, yeah. What's the mouse for visit video that I did? Here, let me get it back. I messed it up. I'll be. There we go. There we go. Doing it live, folks. Making errors. I know there hasn't been a live stream where I haven't made errors. But don't worry. Maybe one day I won't. But anyways, please give me a follow. You know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We can, you know, communicate. You know, if you have any ideas, express your ideas. Create a dialogue. You know, there are going to be, excuse me, there are going to be things I like, things that you like. You know, we can agree, we can disagree, we can agree to disagree. But let's have fun and let's just create a community. I welcome one, I welcome all. The reason why I say one and all is because even if one person watches the video, it's still worth making a video. If I get more than one, well, the more the merrier. So, I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Pacific 4 and 4 episode review. I hope to see you again for another Pacific 4 and 4 episode review next Thursday, live when I give my episode review for episode 4 of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek, Star Trek. The lessons you can learn from The Mandalorian. Oh boy, what you could learn. What you can learn from a competent writing team. That's for sure. What you can learn from what they've done as compared to what you've done and what you've smeared about Star Trek. Because that scene in episode 3, Far From Home, of Star Trek Discovery, I know I keep hitting the mic. Mike keeps hitting the mic. But that scene with what remained of the villain from season 2 his blood and guts and smearing it all over. That's Discovery. That's all they do is smear things. But Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, they honor what came before. I mean, look at Dave Filoni's work with Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Star Wars, Star Wars Rebels. He honored the work of George Lucas, and maybe one day there will be someone, a team that will honor the work of Gene Roddenberry, because Discovery doesn't do it. The Mandalorian does for Star Wars what Discovery doesn't do for Star Trek.